My name is Elliot Clay. I'm with Illinois Environmental Council. I'm their Agriculture and Water Programs Director. First of all, thank you all for coming out, Representative Sosnowski and staff from Representative Bustos' office and SWCD'S and everybody else. We really, really appreciate it. During the summer, a lot of what we do is try to get legislators out into the field to see kind of conservation in action. Me and my coworker, Lindsay Keeney, who's our conservation director, a lot of what we do is try to get folks out to places like land trusts, like we're here today. This wetland is absolutely beautiful and a great day for this. And go to see farms and see sustainable agriculture and try to show the practices that are going to help do things like reduce nutrient runoff into our rivers that are contributing to like the hypoxia in the Gulf of Mexico. We're super happy to be working with Natural Lands Institute and Cary. We do a lot of policy stuff in Springfield, but to be able to come out here and see it in action kind of highlights, what we're kind of fighting to achieve.
I'm Lindsay Keeney. I'm the Conservation Director for the Illinois Environmental Council. We are so thrilled to be able to come out today, get out of our offices, drag some legislators out of their offices, and come out and see conservation in action on the ground in this beautiful prairie, this beautiful wetland. I was just talking with my colleagues and with the representative about you can say wetland a million times, you can write it on a piece of paper in a report and put it on their desk, but until they get out here and they see those birds diving, the birds eating the mosquitoes right above the water, they don't truly understand. Until you say the billions of gallons of floodwater storage, the billions of pounds of nutrient pollution that are being reduced from running off into our rivers. Until you come out here and you see that, those are just numbers and words on a page.
It's good to have somebody from Representative Bustos' office and Representative West's office. Thanks for being here. And on behalf of the rest of the legislative delegation, both federally and statewide, thanks for what you do. You guys are the experts. Us and our staff are pulled sometimes in a million different directions, so we really rely on you folks in the field who know conservation, you know what you're doing, and just please let us know how we can help you.
We're going to take a little tour. We'll get out and take a look at the wetlands and the habitat, and then we'll get back on and we'll go down a little bit farther and we'll do a look at the rivers, where the rivers all come together. We've got the Raccoon Creek, the Pecatonica going into the Rock River, and I'll be talking about flood control and some of the issues that we have with water and what the natural functions of this preserve provide for us. The Prairie State, which is Illinois, actually has 0.1% of prairies left. Prairie plants have roots. Your typical lawn root is about this deep, and that's as far as the water goes in the soil and then it sheets off. Well, all these prairie plants that you see here, their roots can go down between 12 and 15 feet deep. So one of the things that we've started doing is calling stormwater runoff drinking water runoff. The vision also of the Natural Land Institute is that we believe that people understand that they are a part of nature and not apart from nature. So that nature is not something out there. Nature is the air you breathe, the water you drink, the food you eat. So let's take a ride. You'll see that we have a lot of pollinator plants here. We've been having problems in the last decade or so with a lot of our pollinators are getting wiped out by herbicides and insecticides. Here you'll get an opportunity to look and see. There's the white pelicans over there. They have just started using the preserve in the last few years, which is amazing. We get all kinds of birds coming here during migration season. What with our changing climate, we're getting a lot more invasive species coming in. They're a blight on the system. And there is a point at which you will not get your system back because it creates so much soil erosion, you lose the seed bank, it changes the soil chemistry, the plants are destroyed, the animals never come back. So there's a tipping point. What we see here is an opportunity for the habitat and the animals and the birds to really thrive, because a system is just that. It works all together. So when we just save little isolated fragments of things, that's really hard for us to have a system that's working together. So as we talk about open space later on, as an issue, we'll be talking about looking to make linkages and corridors so that habitat and animals, plants, all of those things can migrate around the state and not be isolated into small little museum-like pieces of habitat. So we're at a big confluence here, and we have found lots of ancient artifacts from Native peoples. We have found things from all over the country. It was a huge trading center here at this confluence of the three rivers. Now, we did a lot of restoration down here. In the first few years, we had lovely prairie down here. It was beautiful. And then we got a huge flood, massive flood. I think even this berm was covered. This is all covered in water. And when the water receded and the vegetation started growing back, it was full of the invasive species called reed canary grass, which is really hard and expensive to get rid of. Here you have an example of the floodplain holding in the floodwaters, keeping this out of your local basements, providing awesome habitat, cleaning the water, because native plants also clean and filter pollutants from the water, and providing us with a gorgeous place to be. Land management is really critical to a healthy system. Illinois is the 48th state out of 50 in land protection across the state, in open space land protection. We really need to rethink as a state how we're going to allocate our resources. Per capita, open space in Illinois is vanishing. The state of Illinois residents really want open space, and they're looking for all kinds of ways to get it funded, whether it's through county, state, municipality, or conservation land trusts like ours. One of the things that's going on in Illinois and across the country is that there's really a tragic and expensive soil loss happening, particularly in our agricultural community. So as state soil conservation funds decline, we have seen more and more erosion increases across the state. Overall, we've lost about half of the organic matter that we had when we started plowing. So we need to encourage cover cropping, no-till farming. We need to keep that soil on the land. So the farmers have a vested interest in this, and the soil and water conservation districts, that's their job, to work with these farmers. But they have been so understaffed that we're losing our soil. We're losing the nutrients into the Gulf of Mexico. It just runs out into our rivers, and we have the great dead zone.
As many of you know, agriculture and farming community it's been struggling the last few years. And then we had the spring floods this year where a lot of the producers weren't able to get farmers' ground planted. And so now they're trying to find ways to help protect that soil that maybe was worked this spring but never got planted. So they're trying to get cover crops out there to help cover the soil, prevent soil loss, help sequester those nutrients that they have in the soil so the nutrients don't either wash away or leach down below their soil profile. So the state did come out with some programs this spring to help with prevent plant acres. The districts throughout the state probably had a 50% staff reduction.
So it's costing us money. As we lose soil, communities are having to spend like $90 million, the city of Decatur, $90 million on a dredging project. If we just kept the soil on our land, that wouldn't happen. Rainfall is expected to increase with our changing climate. And what we've seen this year across the Midwest with the flooding is that we're going to get huge events in the spring and then more drought-like conditions across the summer months. So that's why we need to protect our floodplains and our soils. So we're asking our legislators this year, and we're going to be considering next year with IEC putting together some soil health legislation. We are working with protecting land and water. And so when the state adopted their nutrient loss reduction strategy, we said, what can we do as conservation land trusts in Illinois to help and add an extra layer of protection? So we're doing a Northwest Illinois land and water conservation plan called Healthy Land and Waters for Northwest Illinois, funded through private foundation grants, McKnight Foundation and Illinois Clean Energy Community Foundation, to see how we can work with the agricultural community to provide another layer of protection. And the old idea of hands-off conservation from the beginning of the 20th century has resulted in 150 years of forests building up fuel, for example, so that they are now out of control fires out west. We need to really think about that relationship between man and nature, working together, and active management has always been a part of nature and man's relationship from the earliest times.
Even though things maybe are less controversial in Springfield, we have a lot of challenges. Both sides, we got to get together on a bipartisan basis and really figure out how we can control those long-term costs so that we can have more funds available for exactly what we're talking about today.
We are a statewide nonprofit that does a lot of policy work in Springfield. We represent over 80 affiliates in the conservation and environmental community. Of that, NLI is one of our big land trust affiliates. We work to represent those affiliates in Springfield, so we say kind of funnily that we don't do all the hard work. You guys do, and we help just make sure there's no barriers in the way for the work of our affiliates.
It has been a pleasure to be in here at the Preserve. It was a nice little tour. We learned a lot. It was very informative. And the main reasons to continue supporting this is conservation, keeping these lands beautiful. And this is what the committee, the board, and the people that work here have done a fantastic job.
So I just wanted to kind of recap the day, and it was really successful. It's amazing to really be able to reach out and touch our legislators on issues that are coming up for us. And as we get to know them and build relationships, they have an opportunity to come out here in their constituency and see the work that's ongoing.